Hi, my name is Sher. I'm the president and founder of Dealer eTraining. Today I'd like to talk about the evolution of the BDC. Has your dealership evolved? We're going to talk about all things BDC, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how it could be great. So let's get started. I'd like to first talk about our agenda and what we're looking to accomplish today. First off, we're looking to understand the BDC, how it's built, what are the processes. We're going to also look at why BDC departments fail and how to avoid the failure. The biggest problem in our industry is BDC departments constantly fail because of many things. Some of the things include the BDC process the dealerships need today that are not being utilized, as well as how to effectively measure these results and set up an action plan to stay current. Once you get those things in check, you should avoid all failure in the BDC and start to measure proper ROI. A little bit about myself. My name is Sher again. Like I said, I'm the president and founder of Dealer eTraining. I'm doing this for 12 years. I have real 12 years experience of selling vehicles, managing dealerships, as well as building and running e-commerce and BDC departments. Some of my success stories include managing a single point Honda dealership that I took from 25 units to over 70 units a month, just on the internet alone, as well as helping to build a brand new up-and-coming Nissan dealership in a suppressed market, which we went from opening the dealership to selling over 90 units a month out of the BDC alone just within the first 9 months. The dealership actually got spotlighted by Auto Success magazine a few months after I left for taking a store that was selling 30 cars a month with shut down doors to doing over 225 cars a month. I was actually really proud of the accomplishment that we were able to achieve really quick. Additionally, I'm also a speaker for the Greater New York Automobile Dealers Association and JCAR New Hampshire Automobile Dealers Association. I've also spoken at numerous conferences, including Internet Battle Plan, Internet Sales 20 Group, AutoCon, and Digital Marketing Strategies Conference, as well as the Innovative Dealer Summit. You'll also notice that I constantly write for numerous publications, including Dealer Marketing Magazine, Driving Sales, Automotive Digital Marketing, and Dealer Elite. That's enough about me. So let's talk about the past, present, and future. The past. Internet sales has been popular from right around 1995, where lead providers like AutoBytel or manufacturers would send leads through fax machines to dealerships. And dealerships would traditionally hire, they'd find a younger generation person who seemed like they knew what they were doing on the computer, not necessarily had the best selling skills, and basically would say, okay, you're going to be my internet manager, and their job would be to print those leads that came in by fax and try to make an appointment and sell some cars. When I got into business in 2003, we were a little different, a little bit more advanced. We had a CRM system in place. My dealership had 2 showroom sales teams with 5 to 6 people per team, with a team leader, as well as a third team, which was the internet team, with 6 people. Their job was to handle the leads, bring the customer in, sell the car. You can imagine in the winter time when business was slow, they were rocking and rolling and we were suffering. And obviously there became issues between sales department on the floor and the internet department. They were hated or despised. What was interesting was at that time, the whole point of it was to use the internet to sell more units, and we obviously gave away more cars, but I don't think we worked deals properly. But the point of selling cars on the internet for our dealership was to just move metal. And the sales teams on the floor, our job was to make as much gross as possible. Fast forward a couple of years later, I ran a department similar to that internet department at Joyce Honda, where I took them from 25 to 70 cars a month. But I did start to see a pattern where dealerships started building business development centers. And business development center has been around for a very long time, even before I got in the industry. But I started to see more of a pattern coming 2005, 2006, until now, where virtually most dealerships have a BDC or some sort of setup where basically it's an appointment setter, or a group of appointment setters whose job is to handle incoming phone calls and internet sales leads and make appointments for the showroom. As far as the future is concerned, there's a lot of great technology out there where I believe that we're going to be able to turn a dealership from a regular sales floor in a BDC to an actual business development dealership or an internet dealership. I'm starting to see it now. As I go to these conferences, there's new vendors popping up, coming up with some really amazing technology where we might actually start selling cars through the computer. But don't quote me on that. So let's understand the BDC, because it is a very important department, especially for these big dealerships that have really big ad budgets and they have a ton of leads coming in. Why are BDCs important? The BDC is your marketing department to drive opportunities. I always joke and say that the BDC replaces the billboard that you see on the road that advertises, used cars or ABC Motors or ABC Honda. You might see a big billboard as you're driving, and the whole point of that is to entice you to see the billboard and say, you know what, I'm going to come in and see what's up, what I can buy as far as buying a car or taking a look or shopping around. Basically, the dealership invests all their money into their advertising, and you're getting leads, you're getting phone calls. You need somebody to help produce these appointments that will in turn show up and hopefully sell. So the goal is to increase productivity through phone calls, emails, texting, and social media, that is. When executing a proper process, it should be very effective in all four mediums. A sole responsibility, like I said, take the marketing opportunities, convert them into quality showroom or service traffic, if you have a service BDC, that is. Follow the processes to create and retain business using proper follow-up. Let's move into follow-up. But before we do that, let's talk about why BDC departments fail. Over the years, I've heard it all. I think I heard it all at least. Dealerships or dealer principals and upper management just do not buy into the efforts because of the lack of education. Perhaps they haven't been to a conference or they haven't been to a training session, and they just hear that it's a fad and the dealership needs it. They need the traffic. Business isn't going where they need, so they start a BDC. But then they fail because they're never happy. They don't know how to measure their results. They might not have the right person in place. Or, like I said, they're probably not educated properly on the BDC department. Another big thing is middle management politics and finger pointing. This happens a lot in big dealerships where there is a BDC or e-commerce director that handles that. Always get a blame from sales management that there's not enough traffic, this isn't being done, that's not being done. So the politics do happen, and then it goes all the way up to upper management, and then the upper management stops buying in. And we go back to that first thing that we said. Dealerships and upper management do not buy in to support the efforts. The other thing is there's never a real action plan for success. You don't have the right people. You might not have a good CRM. Or you do have a good CRM, but you don't have the right setup in the CRM. You have no training whatsoever. And you're not having a proper budget for this. The other thing is false expectations. Let me just go and set up this BDC department, and hopefully I'll find the silver shining magical bullet that's going to help me be successful. But then you have no accountability. So this is why BDCs fail. So let's talk about the importance of the process. I believe that an internet lead management process needs to be 180 days long. Now, with that being said, when I did initially have this philosophy, CRM systems were not as sophisticated as they are today. Today, there are CRM systems out there that actually give you the ability to have an artificial intelligence follow-up process, meaning that the CRM can actually tell you how to work the CRM simply by having, I guess they kind of place like little cookies or kind of like a little bug. Once you get a lead from a customer, with an email address or a phone. If it's a mobile phone, you can text them. Once you text them, now you can engage them through text messaging. You can engage them through social. And the CRM actually gives you a laydown of how and when to follow up with these customers simply by their behavioral pattern. Assuming you don't have that and you have a CRM that might be a little bit old school, you need to set up a proper 180-day protocol consisting of phone call, email, text messaging, and social media follow-up if possible. Same thing for incoming phone calls. Once you get these phone ups, you need to be able to have a nice 180-day process to follow up with these phone ups. Also, phone call, email, texting, social, if you get their email address embedded into your CRM. Also, some of the things that BDC departments do, they also handle some of them, not all of them, unsold showroom follow-up, which I believe should be a 5 to 10 day process. If they came in, worked with a sales consultant, didn't buy a car, chances are they're either buying one within the next couple of days or they're not going to buy anything at all. And you'll find out within the next 5 to 10 days, if you do the right follow-up, what the status is, and maybe even bring them in and sell them a car. Lease maturity and retention. I believe that you should start 9 months out before the process of the lease expiration date happens. It's very important to start to work your database and try to get these people in early, offer them a really good deal if you have the right programs, and try to, get their leased vehicle so that you can maybe put it on your lot and actually have really good certified pre-owned inventory. Equity and service opportunities. There's a lot of programs out there for that. A lot of CRMs have it. There's some really good programs out there that help you even regenerate leads so that you can improve your closing ratio and try to get those missed opportunities that you might have missed out on before and turn them into sales. So what's an effective process look like? One of the things that I did when I worked at Joyce Honda was I was also the dealership's Excel facilitator. So my job was to be all about process. I had a book of processes that we outlined for every single department. And once I did that, I was using charts just like the one you're seeing here. But once I did that, I decided that it was time to do the same thing for my internet sales lead management process and my phone processes. So you should be able to map out an effective process. If you need some help mapping out a process, after this session is over, you'll have my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me and we can discuss how we can help you come up with a process. But the bottom line is you do need to have a effective process and you have to map it out the right way. How do you measure results? For starters, you need to set up proper CRM reporting. Very important. You need to follow certain metrics of a CRM. You need to follow how many leads came in, how many customers did we attempt to reach, how many appointments did we make, how many appointments showed, how many cars were sold. You also need to keep really good analytics of everything else from your vendors, your lead providers, your OEMs reports. You also need to make sure the dealership uses a CRM properly at all times. No exceptions. I repeat, you need to make sure that the dealership uses the CRM properly at all times. No exceptions. Why? Because too many blames go on the CRM. Oh, this CRM's terrible. Oh, I tried this one, but I didn't like it, so I got another CRM because the other one's looking better. The reality is, yeah, there's some really crappy ones and there's some really great ones. But if you're not using it properly, no matter how good or bad it is, it's always going to be bad. So everyone needs to use a CRM at all times. I even think that each dealership needs to have their own CRM administrator. In some cases, it is a BDC manager that's the administrator of it. I know because I was one once. You have to monitor all communications with prospects and all CRM notes. That's very important. You have to know what's said, when it's said, why it was said. It has to be there. Sales managers need to be able to look that customer up when they're working a deal and find all the right information so they can build better rapport and help close a deal and get that customer more interested. You need to create, I mentioned this a few seconds ago, but you need to create benchmarks by using data provided by vendors, lead providers, and OEMs. A few years ago, I took a Subaru dealership, a small Subaru dealership, from closing roughly at 2% on the internet to closing at around 9.5% on the internet within 90 days, simply by implementing process and finding out where they were as opposed to their competitors. It's a whole science. That's a whole other discussion, which, again, if you are looking to learn how to create good benchmarks, you can feel free to contact me, and I'll be more than happy to give you some of my input on that. We need to look at our analytics. Like I said, vendor reports, budgets, CRM, Google Analytics. What's my traffic like as opposed to everybody else's? You need to know. You have to inspect your CRM. I think I wrote an article about that once. You also need to look at your lead quantity. We talked about that. Appointment set, appointment show, appointment sold. Incoming calls, appointment set, appointment show, appointment sold. You have to look at your quantity of leads. You have to look at your quantity of phone calls, and then how you're handling them. If you're not making a certain amount of appointments and a certain amount of people aren't coming in, you're going to be selling less cars. You also have to mention and measure your retention and data mining. How many people did you contact? How many appointments were set? How many showed? How many sold? These are very important things to measure. Probably the most important things to measure for BDC in a dealership. So, CRM improvement. Months after months, you go to different seminars. The OEM brings you training. You go to a conference. You learn different things. You learn different trends. And sometimes your CRM is even improving. And so what's interesting is you need to be able to measure your follow-up. If something's not working, adjust it. If an email template's not working, adjust it. If you're not saying the right things to customers, adjust it. If you're not taking enough notes, adjust that. Also, call monitoring and phone training. This is our specialty. Not to make a timeshare pitch out of this, but call monitoring is one of the most important tools, and it amazes me how many dealerships lack call monitoring. I'll go on a dealership's website and see a local phone number, and then I'll ask them, do you have call monitoring? Well, they tell me, well, I only get what AutoTrader and Cars.com give me, and they don't measure their website phone numbers or their other sources, or sometimes they'll run an ad in the paper, do a direct mail, and they won't even put a phone number in there that can be tracked and listened to, which limits the opportunity to do phone training. If a dealership does phone training, we can certainly help with that. You need to be able to create custom processes for a monthly advertising plan to include not only new phone scripts and email templates, but also digital, traditional, and regular marketing. Again, create custom process for monthly advertising plan to include new phone scripts and email templates. Basically, it's very simple. You run a direct mail campaign, you run a newspaper ad. Your people need to be trained on the advertisement and what to say to that customer when that customer calls in, as well as how to follow up with that customer. Because we're not going to get everybody into an appointment. So we need to have a follow-up strategy on what to say to get them back in or get them interested. We can't just take a phone call, not make an appointment, and let them go. They will be buying a car at some point. They're obviously serious enough to call you. You need to also measure your sourcing in the showroom. One of my clients, because he was basically not only a BDC and e-commerce director, but also the administrator for the CRM in the store, he got tired of the improper use of CRM in the store. So what he did was he had, anytime a customer came into the dealership, he actually had the receptionist source the customer right there and then. So his sourcing was 100% on point, and he still does it 4 years later. You also have to measure your sales management. If you're not closing enough deals, maybe your sales management's not doing the right thing. Maybe your salespeople aren't doing the right thing. Some months you might want to try out where you actually give the customers or these appointments to the salespeople with the highest closing ratios, and then as everybody else starts to jump in on board and get better at selling cars, you'll open the floor to them and give them the opportunities as well. So bottom line, you need to set up an action plan. Continue to educate yourself. You need to have ongoing training for the sales and the BDC department. You also need to network with other professionals and learn from each other. And the only way you're going to do that is there's a lot of great blogs out there. There's a lot of great content online where you're going to be able to meet different people and make new friends and learn. When I worked at Teddy Nissan, I had friends that were all the way in Florida and Massachusetts, were also Nissan dealerships, where I would talk to them constantly, and we'd pick each other's brains and help each other with strategy. Attend conferences. There's no reason why you shouldn't attend the conference. Right now, the industry is literally overwhelmed with more conferences than we can handle. And I believe that if we attend at least one conference a year, you're going to learn something very interesting and be a lot more effective. Also very important to be compliant with the OEM guidelines and think outside the box to brand the dealership. Your OEMs are going to be giving you tools from a very big perspective to help you be successful with your marketing, your digital marketing. You know, you might have to use a specific website. You might have to have a specific type of follow-up process because the OEM tells you to. But it's important to still be able to think outside the box, be compliant, but also find a way to brand your dealership properly. I talked about staying current. You have all these different sites: DealerElite.net, Automotive Digital Marketing, Driving Sales, Dealer Refresh. A matter of fact, if you go on my website, dealeretraining.com, which you see here at the bottom of my phone number, there's a blog section, and I have literally over 90 different articles and blogs. Matter of fact, anything that I've ever written for these sources that I just mentioned here, all my articles are on there. And there's a lot of really effective reading that can be done for anybody at the dealership, from lot attendant all the way to general manager and owner. So with that being said, I'd like to finish it up by basically inviting all listeners to contact me for any help that you might need or any discussion of strategy. You can visit my website at www.dealeretraining.com and learn about what Dealer eTraining does. We focus on internet sales, BDC, phone training, as well as sales training and recruiting for car dealerships. And we have a very unique outside-the-box solution, which I like to call the forward-thinking consultative selling process. A little bit different from traditional sales, but it works and it's effective. Basically, what we do is we incorporate a basic road to the sale process with internet strategies that can help salespeople take it to the very next level instead of sitting around and waiting for the next up. You can also find us at facebook.com/dealeretraining, twitter.com/StanSher. Email me at stan@dealeretraining.com or call me at 732-925-8362. I'm always available, and I'll be more than happy to help you come up with a really effective strategy for your dealership and even help you build those departments up. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to call me, contact me, and I will be there to support you at all times. Thank you so much.